They sealed these places for a reason, not with simple locks or doors, but with fear warnings and silence that has lasted for centuries. Because what lies inside these tombs is not just history, it is something that could rewrite everything we believe about the past, and maybe even threaten the present across the world. There are 6 tombs that no one dares to open. Not because we lack the tools, but because every attempt to understand them has come with strange consequences unexplained. Dangers and a growing sense that some secrets were buried on purpose. Imagine standing in front of a massive stone structure, older than most civilizations. The air feels heavy. The ground seems to hold its breath, and somewhere beneath your feet is a chamber that has not been touched for thousands of years. One of the most famous of these lies in China, hidden beneath a green hill that looks almost peaceful from a distance. But below that surface rests the tomb of an emperor who believed he would rule even in death. When workers first discovered fragments of what lay nearby, they uncovered thousands of clay soldiers. Each one unique, each one standing in silent formation, as if waiting for a command that would never come. This army was not built for decoration. It was built for protection. The ruler they guarded had an obsession with immortality. He wanted power beyond life. And he made sure his tomb would reflect that desire. Ancient writings describe a chamber filled with rivers. That shimmer like metal, a landscape meant to represent the entire world. But those rivers were not water. They were mercury. Modern scientists tested the soil around the site and found something chilling. The levels of mercury are dangerously high, even today, and that is just what we know. There are also descriptions of traps hidden within the tomb, mechanical weapons designed to fire the moment someone enters, a deadly system created over 2,000 years ago. Think about that for a second, a tomb so dangerous that even with modern technology, experts hesitate to open it. It remains sealed, not because we cannot break in, but because we are not sure we would survive what comes next. Far away in the sands of Egypt, another mystery waits behind walls that have already made history. When explorers first uncovered the burial place of a young king, it was unlike anything the world had ever seen. Gold artifacts, treasures, beyond imagination, and a story frozen in time. But even that discovery may not be complete. Recent scans have revealed something strange: hidden spaces behind the walls, perfectly shaped chambers that were never meant to be seen. What could be inside? Some believe it could be the resting place of a powerful queen, whose body was never found. Others think it may contain artifacts that were too important or too dangerous to display. But there is another layer to this story that makes people hesitate. When the tomb was first opened, a series of deaths followed. People connected to the excavation began to die under unusual circumstances. It sparked whispers of a curse, a warning left behind to protect the tomb from intruders. Whether coincidence or something more, the idea has never fully faded. And now, with new chambers waiting to be explored, question returns: should we open them, or should we leave them as they are? Because once something is disturbed, it cannot be undone. Deep beneath the surface of one of the most iconic structures ever built, another secret hides in silence. For generations, people believed the Great Pyramid had revealed all of its secrets. Every chamber mapped, every passage studied. But then technology uncovered something impossible to ignore: a massive empty space hidden within the stone, a void that should not exist. No entrance, no explanation, and no clear purpose. It sits there untouched, a hollow mystery, surrounded by solid rock. Some believe it could be a hidden chamber that holds knowledge lost to time. Others think it may have been sealed to hide something that was never meant to be found. The truth is, no one knows, and perhaps that is what makes it so unsettling. Because the more we learn about the past, the more we realize how much has been intentionally hidden. Not all tombs are marked by grand structures or famous names. Some are lost, entirely erased from maps and memory. The burial place of a conqueror who once ruled vast lands is one of them. His empire stretched across continents. His name inspired fear and respect. But when he died, something unusual happened. His followers did not build a monument. They did not leave behind clues. Instead, they buried him in secret, and then they made sure no one would ever find him. Stories say that those who carried out the burial were killed, and then those who knew about it were also silenced. The location was wiped away, as if it never existed. Why go to such lengths? What was so important or so dangerous that it had to be hidden forever? Some believe his tomb holds unimaginable riches. Others think it may contain records or truths about his rule that could change how history sees him. But there is another idea, one that is harder to explain, that the tomb is protected by something more than secrecy, that those who search for it encounter strange misfortune, accidents that cannot be easily explained, a pattern that makes people wonder if the past is pushing back in the dense jungles of Central America. Another tomb tells a different kind of story. This one was found, but what lay inside raised more questions than answers. The chamber was coated in a deep red substance that covered everything, walls, floor, and even the remains within. At first, it seemed like decoration, a ritual marking, but then researchers realized what it was: a toxic mineral that can slowly poison anyone who comes into contact with it. The body inside belonged to a woman of high status, someone important enough to be buried in a place like this. But why surround her with something so dangerous? Was it a form of protection, a warning to those who might try to disturb her rest, or was it part of a ritual that we do not fully understand? Even now, studying the tomb requires extreme care, because the danger did not disappear with time. It remains silent, but deadly. And then there is a place far removed from deserts and jungles, place of ice and isolation, where almost nothing survives beneath the frozen surface. Researchers have detected something unusual, a structure that does not match the natural formations around it. Something that appears deliberate, engineered, hidden under layers of ice that have existed for thousands of years. Very few details are shared about it. Access is restricted, information is limited, but the idea alone is enough to spark curiosity. A possible tomb in one of the most remote places on Earth. Who built it? Why is it there? And what could it contain? The silence surrounding it only adds to the mystery. Because when information is controlled, people begin to wonder what is being kept from them. As these stories unfold, a pattern begins to emerge. Each tomb is different. Each one comes from a different time and culture, yet they all share something in common. They are sealed, not forgotten, not ignored, but deliberately left untouched. In a world where humans have explored the deepest oceans and reached beyond the stars, it is strange to think that some doors remain closed by choice. It challenges the idea that knowledge should always be pursued, no matter the cost. Because sometimes the cost is unknown. And that is what makes it dangerous. Imagine being the one to break that seal, to step into a space that has been isolated for centuries. The air would be still heavy with time. Every step would feel like crossing a line that was never meant to be crossed. And then there is the question that lingers in the back of every mind. What if something is waiting, not in the sense of a living creature, but in the form of knowledge or energy or consequences that we cannot fully understand? History has shown that not every discovery leads to progress. Some lead to destruction, to unintended outcomes that change the course of events in ways no one predicted. So maybe these tombs are not just relics of the past. Maybe they are warnings, messages left behind by people who understood something that we do not. That some things are better left buried, that curiosity, while powerful, can also be dangerous, and that once a boundary is crossed, there is no going back. The idea is unsettling because it forces us to question our own instincts, to explore, to discover, to uncover. What if the greatest act of wisdom is knowing when to stop, when to leave something untouched? As the world continues to advance and technology makes the impossible seem easy, the pressure to open these tombs will only grow. There will always be those who want answers, who believe the risk is worth it. And maybe one day, one of these tombs will finally be opened. The seal will break the darkness inside, will be exposed to light for the first time in centuries, and whatever lies within will become part of our world once again. But until that moment comes, these tombs remain as they have always been, silent, hidden, and waiting. Not just as mysteries of history, but as reminders that some secrets are not lost. They are protected, and the real question is not what is inside then. It is whether we are ready to face it. Something about these tombs feels wrong. Not just ancient or mysterious, but deliberately hidden, as if the past itself is trying to stay buried for centuries. People have chased history, digging through ruins, breaking seals, opening doors that were closed for a reason. Most of the time they find artifacts, bones, fragments of forgotten lives. But sometimes they find something else, something that makes them stop, something that makes even the most Fearless explorers step back and say, "This should not be opened." The mystery begins with a simple question: why would an entire civilization go to such extreme lengths to seal a tomb forever? Not just protect it, but weaponize it, fill it with poison. Traps and silence. An underground kingdom, created in perfect detail, guarded by thousands of silent soldiers. But the real chamber, the heart of the tomb, remains untouched. Ancient writings speak of rivers that flow like liquid metal and skies, painted above them, a world recreated in darkness. When modern scientists studied the ground, they found something chilling. The soil itself is toxic, filled with mercury at levels that could kill anyone who enters. And that is where the conflict begins. Because we now have the technology to go inside robots' protective gear, advanced tools. We could open it. We could finally see what has been hidden for over 2,000 years. But should we? Because every detail about that tomb feels like a warning, not an invitation. And it is not the only one in Egypt, behind walls already famous for their treasures. Scans have revealed empty spaces, sealed chambers untouched since the day they were closed, perfectly hidden, as if someone did not just build a tomb, but built layers of secrecy within it. When the burial site was first opened, strange things followed people connected to the discovery, died one after another. Some called it coincidence, others believed it was something more, a curse, a consequence, a reaction. Now, with new chambers waiting, the same question returns. Do we risk opening something that may have been sealed to protect us, not just the dead? Or consider the kind, massive structure that has stood for thousands of years, its surface studied, its interior mapped? Or so we thought, until technology revealed a void, a hollow space deep inside, where there should be nothing, no entrance, no explanation, just an empty chamber hidden in plain sight. That kind of discovery changes everything, because it suggests intention. Someone built that space, knowing it would remain hidden, and that raises another question. What was so important or so dangerous that it had to be placed inside a structure designed to last forever? The conflict grows stronger. When you realize that some tombs are not just sealed, they are erased. The burial place of one of history's greatest conquerors has never been found. Not because it is lost, but because it was hidden with extreme precision. Those who buried him made sure the location would disappear. Stories say that anyone involved in the process was silenced. No witnesses, no markers, no trace. It is as if the tomb itself was meant to vanish from human knowledge. Why? What could be inside that required such secrecy? Treasure, power, secrets about his empire, or something else entirely? There are those who have searched for it, who believe they are close, but strange patterns emerge. Expeditions fail, accidents happen, plans collapse in ways that feel more than random. It creates a tension between curiosity and fear. A feeling that some places not want to be found. And then there are tombs that fight back in a different way, not through legend or disappearance, but through something physical, something deadly. Deep in the jungle, a burial chamber was discovered, coated in a red substance that looked almost ceremonial.
That was not just decoration, it was poison, a toxic material that can harm anyone who comes too close. The body inside was preserved in this dangerous lair, as if the tomb itself had been turned into a weapon that
changes the way you think about these places, because now it is not just about protecting what is inside. It is about actively preventing anyone from entering. A deliberate design meant to keep the living away, and that leads to the most disturbing thought of all. What if these tombs are not just protecting treasures or remains? What if they are containing something that those who built them feared would escape? The shocking truth is not that these tombs exist. It is that we have reached a point where we can open them, but choose not to. Not because we are incapable, but because we are uncertain. Because every piece of evidence, every story, every warning points to the same conclusion. There is risk, real risk, not just ours. Physical harm, but of consequences we do not fully understand. History teaches us that knowledge is power, but it also shows that some discoveries come at a cost. There are moments when pushing forward leads to breakthroughs and others when it leads to disaster. And with these tombs, we do not know which path we are on. The dark side of this story is not just what might be inside. It is the pattern of silence surrounding them, restricted access, limited information decisions made behind closed doors. In some cases, entire areas are off limits, not just to the public, but to researchers. That kind of control creates suspicion. It makes people wonder what has already been found and what is being kept hidden. Because if there was nothing to fear, why not explore everything openly? Why not share every discovery, every detail? Unless the truth is more complicated, unless opening these tombs could reveal something that challenges our understanding of history, or worse, something that creates new problems we are not prepared to handle as the tension builds, the question becomes unavoidable. What happens if one of these tombs is finally opened, not studied from the outside, not scanned, not theorized about, but physically opened, the seal broken, the air inside released into the world? For the first time in centuries, that moment would not just be historical, it would be irreversible. Whatever is inside would no longer be contained, it would become part of our reality. And that is where the climax of this story lives, in that single decision to open or not to open. Because once it happens, there is no going back. If the tomb contains poison, it spreads. If it contains traps, they activate. If it contains knowledge, it changes what we know. And if it contains something we do not expect, something beyond our current understanding, then we may not be ready for it. That is what makes these tombs so powerful. Are not just relics, they are thresholds, boundaries between what is known and what is hidden, between the past and the unknown. Standing in front of one of these sealed places, you would feel it. The weight of history, the pressure of curiosity. Quiet warning in the air. It is not just a physical barrier, it is a psychological one, a line that humanity has chosen not to cross, at least for now. And maybe that choice says more about us than anything inside those tombs. It shows that despite all our advancements, all our confidence, there is still a part of us that understands caution, that recognizes when something feels wrong, that knows not ever why mystery needs to be solved immediately. But that restraint will not last forever. There will always be someone willing to take the risk, someone who believes the truth is worth any cost. And when that day comes, when one of these tombs is finally opened, the world will be watching, waiting to see what emerges, hoping for discovery, but fearing consequence, because deep down we all feel it. These tombs were sealed for a reason, and whatever that reason is, it has survived time, untouched and unquestioned until now. So the question is not just about history or curiosity, it is about choice. If you were given the opportunity to open one of these tombs, knowing everything that could go wrong, would you do it? Would you break the seal, step into the darkness and face whatever waits inside, or would you walk away, leaving the mystery intact, respecting the warning left behind? Think about it carefully, because the moment that decision is made, the story changes forever. And maybe, just maybe, some doors were never meant to be opened. If this story made you question what lies beneath the surface and what secrets the world is still hiding, take a moment to share your thoughts. Which tomb would you open? And which one would you leave sealed? Drop your answer below and join the conversation. And if you are drawn to mysteries like this, the kind that blur the line between history and the unknown, stay connected, because there are more stories waiting to be uncovered. Stories that challenge what we believe and remind us that the past is never truly silent.